Okay, I think we are slightly after 12 o'clock, so we'll get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CERJ information session. It's really nice to see so many names filling up in the participant list. Such a shame we can't all be together to talk about publishing educational research with CERJ. But I guess this situation gives us a really nice opportunity to welcome friends and colleagues from all around the world. So it's great to see you. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. I think you were all on mute when you came in, but please try and keep your mute off while the speakers are presenting. If you want to have your camera on, it's really nice to see all your faces, but obviously that's up to you. We're quite happy for you to keep your cameras off if that makes more sense for you. Okay, so just a little overview about what the session's going to do today. Obviously, our aim is to try and help you understand a little bit better the process of publishing with CERJ, especially if it's your first time submitting work with us. So the first thing that I'm going to do is introduce you to our team. And then our editor is going to give you a little bit of background information just about what CERJ is and about our process and how we go about publishing the journal. We're really grateful for the questions that you've sent in via the form, so we're going to deal with those first. And we hope that we're going to get some really important insight from our guest speakers. And then at the end, we'll open up the floor to any questions that have kind of come up whilst we've been chatting. Please feel free to use the chat function for any questions that occur to you, or rather at the end, if you want to have a switch your cameras on and unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, then that's fine as well. So I'll introduce our team. We're really grateful for the support of Professor Susan Robertson and Dr. Lewis Major, who are our faculty advisors. And under the guidance of Meng Liu, our chief editor, who is a third-year PhD in the Faculty of Education at Cambridge.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our information session.
We also have Kira, who's going to chat to you a little bit later on. She's an MPhil in Psychology of Education.
Hi, everyone.
We have Niana, who is our social media queen.
Hi, everybody.
Ioannis, who has pulled this event together.
Hello, everyone.
I'll hand over to Ioannis in just a second. And I'm Maggie Nelson. I'm also an MPhil student in the Faculty of Education. So Ioannis, I think you're going to introduce our guest speakers now.
Hello, everyone. By taking this opportunity, I would like to welcome you all to our event. We have invited two guest speakers who are both previous CERJ authors. Our first speaker is Ryan Irvan, and he is a PhD candidate. Ryan, would you like to give us a brief description about your background as well as your paper that was published last year?
Yeah, thank you, Ioannis. So I'm a former middle school teacher in San Diego, California in the USA. And I came here to do my MPhil in psychology and education. And at the time, I knew I wanted to do research that could be applicable to the classroom. But as we all know, things have changed what the classroom is. So I've kind of pivoted towards online education. And I'm looking at memorable moments, or sometimes they're called teachable moments, but I'm really looking at tiny units of time within the class that are impactful. Because I know, especially with people working from home and homeschooling going on, that time is of the essence. So I think to make the best of the time that we do have. So I'm interested in doing that in kind of critical incident interviews and looking back on the moments and then matching it with formative assessments to kind of see what really was happening in these particular moments. But then for the publication that I did a publication along with Maria Salpi, who is my supervisor. And it kind of came from my first essay in the psychology and education program. It was on executive functions in young kids. And I just kind of took a holistic look at it. And because I believe in educating the whole child, not just the literacy and the math. So I really dug into the inhibitory control and social emotional learning. But it was a fun process. It started as a very ambitious critical literature review. And then I found some other people who'd already done it. So I pivoted and just found a little niche to get in there. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass it back to Ioannis.
Thank you very much, Ryan, for being here. Next, we have Yanyi Li, who is also a PhD candidate at the faculty. Yanyi, would you like to present your background and your paper that was published in previous CERJ?
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you, Anis. So my introduction is really short. I'm a second year PhD student at the faculty, and I'm in the second language education group. So my research, I'm a huge language nerd, so I basically focus on my research on linguistic distance and its effect on learning. So can I share the screen? Actually, I have my paper on the screen. Yeah, okay. So it says I can't share the screen. Well, that's fine. I'll just talk. So my paper focused on Taiwanese learners' learning processes of Russian and Ukrainian. And I was comparing these two processes. So basically, I did a very small case study because, it was my first time publishing in such a good, paper. So I was trying to start with something small and then build on from that. So for the paper that I published last time, it was basically just like a single case study, but I really put a lot of work and effort into it. And I actually wrote it in March during quarantine. So I had a lot of time because I was so bored. And I finished it in like 9 or 10 days. So I thought that was like quite a good way to spend a quarantine. So yeah, so if anyone is really bored with quarantine right now, do your paper. Okay, so I'll pass it back to you, Ioannis.
Thank you very much, Yanyi. We really appreciate your presence here. Well, I would like to mention that we are really grateful to have both Ryan and Yanyi with us today for this session, and I am really sure that we shall all benefit from their experience with publishing in CERJ. Now I will pass to our editor-in-chief, who will speak a little bit more about CERJ policies. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Anis, and thank you, the two speakers, for sharing your insights. We really appreciate it. Okay, hello, everyone. First, let me just briefly introduce our vision for the year and more specific policies regarding submissions. Well, as you may have already known, CERJ is a graduate school journal attached to the Faculty of Education at Cambridge, and we are open access, currently indexed on Doge. A little bit about the goals for this year. Well, first of all, we'd like to provide support to first-time authors and reviewers. Second is to promote academic exchange and collaboration among educational researchers. Regarding our editorial process, we hope to enhance the quality of publications and the rigor in the reviewing process. Now, all of these goals are tied to how CERJ can help you in your research journey. For example, the information session today is about helping you prepare for submissions. As for the rigor in the review process, we plan to make our reviewer training not only mandatory to the reviewers, but also public this year, so that everyone, not just the reviewers, can learn about the publication process. For contributors such as all of you, to learn about the review process can really help you gain a better perspective on how the publication process works. And for that, I recommend you to check out our reviewer training video from last year on our YouTube channel, and also attend this year's reviewer training too, which will take place in April, by the way. Another step we've taken is the Facebook group that we've created. We welcome all of you to join, and hopefully it can serve as a space, not just for CERJ specific questions, but also for general academic discussions and even collaborations. And lastly, as CERJ is open access, you really enjoy a lot of freedom and flexibility with the promotion of your work to the wider public, which is really helpful when it comes to increasing the impact of your research. Okay, moving on to the specifics. Well, many of you have seen this in our call for submissions email, so I won't go into a lot of details. We accept research from all education-related areas and authors from universities around the world, not just Cambridge. Now, I understand different people are considering different types of submissions, so I won't go through each type one by one. If you have specific questions, you're welcome to bring up during our live discussions later. But what I do want to emphasize here is that please check our website before start writing your manuscript. There are specific guidelines for each type of submissions that you can refer to. Okay, now moving on to the timeline. Well, hopefully this can give you a better idea of the entire editorial process, starting from submission all the way to publication. But before the first round of review, there's a pre-selection stage. So please use our template and comply with the requirements on our website. For instance, starting from this year on, we start using the APA 7 style, so please pay attention to that. Now, each of the review and revision stage will take 3 weeks. And in between, there will be 1 or 2 weeks of communications between the editorial team and authors or reviewers. So in total, the process should span across at least 4 months. So, and usually the release date for the volume is somewhere in October or November in the year. Okay, now that's about the overview, and let me hand over to my colleague Kira for the Q&A session.
Okay then, hi everyone. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces. And so we are now going to answer the questions that were submitted on the online form. So I'm going to lead us through, we've kind of like grouped together some similar questions into slides, and I'm going to just walk us through some of the questions. And I think the first slide will allow our guest speakers to contribute and answer these ones. So the first group of questions related to preparing a manuscript for CERJ, and how did you prepare your manuscript for CERJ? Ryan, Yanni, I don't know if you've got any comments that you would like to.
I can go first.
Yeah, thank you.
So about the preparation for the manuscript, is it?
Yeah, so preparing a manuscript for CERJ, yeah.
So basically, I would say the most difficult process was selecting a topic. I know that a lot of people kind of take something from their MPhil projects or their PhD projects, but I didn't do that. I sort of did something new. I did a very small case study, mainly because I didn't think I was prepared to take data from my PhD project into my CERJ paper. So basically, I spent about like 2 weeks thinking about what I was going to write about. I mean, I knew I wanted to contribute something, but I didn't know what exactly. So I did spend some time also discussing with my supervisor before I reached a decision on what to write about. So I would say that the most important thing is to be very clear on what you want to write about. And then once you have that ready, it will be easy from there on. So yeah, that's my advice.
Right. And Ryan, do you have any advice that you'd maybe give to authors who were thinking about preparing a manuscript for CERJ?
Yeah, so I would say also I'll reiterate that my supervisor played a big role in that. The first meeting we had, I let her know that I wanted to publish something during the MPhil. I said I want to start publishing now, and so she told me about, I think it was CERJ at the time, but about the CERJ journal as well. So just early on, I had it in my focus as I was starting essay 1, and I was knowing that there were different requirements for each, but I was thinking this is what I'll write for the essay, but I know how I can adapt it over. So as I approached it, lots of communication with my supervisor. I reviewed some of the materials that were on the website. I haven't made it to look at the new stuff, but really it was just looking at the goals of what the journal was trying to achieve with the publication and aligning what I was writing with those goals, because I just was thinking of the audience so that I could get through to the next round.
Yeah. And I know that a couple of people were wondering what you guys found was most beneficial from the publication process through CERJ.
Yeah, I can speak to that since I'm already going, and then I'll pass it on. I'd say being open to feedback. So not being too sensitive about somebody saying, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I was crystal clear. That's exactly, you know what I meant. But taking it all on and just being open to suggestions and knowing that it's a learning process, especially being early career publications, just happy to be taking part. And I really found the feedback from the 3 different reviewers I had helpful. And again, having so I had my supervisor to talk to, but also having another friend who already has a PhD. If you have any other resources, just have another set of eyes on them and to help digest the feedback. So I'd say just really being open and don't be afraid to challenge maybe what the reviewers say as well, because it is a dialogue. Just make sure that that you're clear in what you're trying to get across, and that reviewing process really made that possible.
Yeah, I also second that because I felt that my reviewers were really, really reasonable. I mean, nobody was really giving me a hard time. And I really learned a lot from my reviewers because, well, I wouldn't say I wrote my manuscript in a hurry, but I definitely missed some details that I shouldn't have missed. And I felt that my reviewers really gave me really insightful feedback. And I felt that I'm very grateful to have been able to publish last year because I just feel like the actual world of publishing is so challenging and scary to a certain extent. And I felt that the CERJ was really a safe space for me to start my publishing, to kickstart everything basically. So I definitely recommend everyone just have a go with it. Yeah.
Right, thanks so much for answering those. So we'll move on, and that's great to hear that you think that CERJ feels like a safe place. That's really what we're trying to encourage for early career researchers. So the next kind of group of questions related to who is eligible to submit. So the first one was, do you accept submissions from graduate students affiliated with other universities? So yes, we do accept all submissions, not only from people associated with Cambridge, but people from associated with institutions from across the globe. And that can range from early career researchers to educational practitioners. So we really do encourage anybody to submit if you think that you've got something that you would like to try and get published in CERJ. And is the journal open to all areas of inquiry within education, or if there are specific themes that you aim to highlight? So yes, so we do on the website, and I know Mongs just mentioned there to take a look at the CERJ website. It really is a great resource. But there is a list of, themes or areas, fields of interest that are relevant to education. And it is important, though, just to reiterate that that list is not exhaustive. So if you have a manuscript that is written about anything relevant to education, we really do encourage you to submit it. But just if you wanted some ideas or just, some kind of pointers, there is a list on the website that is available for you all to check out. And the final question was, what qualifications do authors need in order to be able to publish with CERJ? So there really aren't any, necessary qualifications that authors must have in order to submit, but we are a graduate-led journal. And so there is the expectation that the work that you submit will comply with a university standard piece of academic writing. So CERJ policies. So how can I submit a paper? So there is all of the information on the the guidelines for how to submit are available on the CERJ website, which will be linked at the end of this presentation. However, in short, you will submit 2 copies of your manuscript in keeping with the template that is provided online. I know that there is a question there asking, is there a template? So there is a template in Word. We do not have an overleaf, but we do have a Word document. And you will submit 2 copies in line with the template and submit those via the CERJ email address. So you will just email us those. And it is completely free to publish with CERJ. Yes, there's no costs associated. Like I say, is there a template? Yes, there is a template online, and it's just really important. Again, I know that our editor has just touched on this, but it's just really important that you do check the CERJ website for what the guidelines, in particular the APA guidelines, unless stated otherwise on the website. And there's a few kind of finicky details just to make sure that you're taking note of those when you submit. Will I get feedback even if my work is not accepted? Yes, you will. You will receive feedback even if your work is not accepted, and you will receive feedback at each step of the review process. What does CERJ specifically do? Do you review research proposals, or are you responsible for the publication process itself? So we do not review research proposals, and we are a publishing journal, so we are responsible for the publication process, and which Mong detailed to you earlier in that diagram. But unfortunately, no, we do not review research proposals. And finally, what is the protocol regarding submitting a research article or review to more than one journal simultaneously? So you cannot submit to more than one journal. If you do choose to submit to CERJ, you can't submit to another journal until you've received an outcome from CERJ. So I think that is those questions. Yeah. I don't know if anyone's got anything else that they'd like, Ryan or Yanya, I don't know if you've got anything else that you want to kind of contribute to those questions.
Yeah, I would just like to say that the fact that it's free to publish with CERJ and it's like open access, isn't it? It's just wonderful because recently I've been trying to publish my other work with other journals, And the open access issue is really, really killing me because so open access is basically just a process where you have to pay a small fee for your work to be completely public to everybody so that, you know, like non-academics and other scientists or other educators will be able to read your work. Well, whereas if it's not open access, then it's not as public. And to publish open access, it costs a lot of money. It can cost somewhere between, I don't know, a few £100 to a couple £1,000. It costs really a lot of money. So it's really valuable that CERJ allows us to publish for free. But I recently did, sorry, I'm just rambling about this, but I thought it was really valuable to share this. But
Go ahead.
I recently contacted, there's this Office of Scholarly Communication at Cambridge, and it seems that Cambridge has a partnership with about 5,000 journals that allows you to publish in those journals and make it open access for free. So we don't have to get funding from elsewhere to be able to make it open access. I mean, like if anyone wants this information, just contact me later, I guess. It's very hard to explain unless you know what open access is, but there's this thing called open access, and I didn't know this until recently because CERJ has been so nice and we don't have to pay anything to publish. Yeah, I'm sorry, I go on and on, but like if anyone wants to know more about open access, just email me later or let me know. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. So I'll hand over to Mong just to continue with the questions.
Thank you, Kira, and thank you, Yanyi, for sharing your valuable experience. Just a quick clarification regarding how you submit a paper to CERJ. It is through the online portal that is available on our website. So you can just go to the website. You don't need to send emails or anything. And within the website, there is the link, and you can just go through the Qualtrics platform to submit your manuscripts to us. Yeah. All right. Now let's move on to the last page of the CERJ policy questions. The first question is, are authors allowed to make more than one submissions? Well, theoretically you can, but practically I don't recommend doing that, especially if you are a first-time author. Regardless of the number of submissions you have, the time given for revision is the same. So if you have 2 papers accepted, you would be pretty stretched for time. Now, if this is about increasing the chance of acceptance, my advice is to concentrate just on one submission, focusing on improving the quality of one paper and make sure that it complies with the journal requirements. And that should give you a better chance of success than working on 2 papers at the same time. Well, does CERJ accept short journal article critique pieces? Well, the answer would be yes, but I just want to take this question as an opportunity to offer some general advice to authors of all types of papers. Please put a significant amount of thinking and work into establishing the significance of your paper. For instance, if you're writing a short journal article critique, the first and most important question to address is why this piece? Now, there are so many articles being published each year. Why does this one merit a special critique? And more importantly, why should the readers care? The same goes for all types of papers. And if you can make a good case for the significance and relevance of your paper to the educational field and to your peers, then your chance of acceptance is much higher. What are the advantages of submitting to CERJ rather than other journals? If published, does it count as a citation to for future career purposes? Well, hopefully we've already made it clear to you the many ways in which CERJ can help you. And yes, you can cite CERJ articles the same way you can cite any other peer-reviewed journals. There is no difference. As for career purposes, I think the best person to consult with would be your supervisor, as this differs from person to person. If I want to publish my experiences with designing, implementing, and evaluating a particular curriculum in a certain set of schools, what type of papers should I opt for? Well, it really depends on what content you want to put in a paper. One option is for you to write this as action research, which will fall under the category of research papers. Or you can write it as a reflexive piece or research notes. So it really depends on what content you would like to contribute to the field. I think, that's it for the CERJ policy questions. And I wonder if the speakers, do you have any comments to add to that?
I don't think I have anything else to add, but I have heard that people are interested in knowing how to convert their master's or PhD work into a paper. And I personally haven't done that before, but you guys know the FIRST blog, right? So there's this piece in the FIRST blog that was about that. That was about converting your master's thesis into a paper. I think it was written by Anna Gruszinska. And I can leave it in the chat right now here if anyone's interested in converting your master's. Because I mean, the master's paper is like about 10,000 words or 20,000 words, depending on what year you graduated in. And it is quite overwhelming to convert that into a 6,000 word paper. So I guess I can share that blog piece with you guys in the chat right now. So that's all I wanted to say. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That would be great.
I guess just kind of one thing to add to that. As I'm going into the first year of the PhD program, I'm kind of trying to keep thinking parallel tracks between what I'm writing academically and what can be used publishing, and thinking about how I can adapt those as I go, or keep it in mind, because I understand that very few people, maybe my supervisor and one other, are going to read that huge dissertation that I do. So I'm already thinking of chunks of chapters to put it in for publications. So maybe just a bit of advice if you are writing for school and you're thinking of writing for publications, see how much crossover you can get between those. They may be for different audiences in a slightly different angle, but if it's a topic you have passion about, then maybe it doesn't fit in your current paper, just put it on another document and save it for the future. So like I said, don't delete anything, just keep it.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. That's sound advice. Yeah. Okay, I think now we can move on to the next section. Yeah, let me hand over to my colleague Maggie and Kira for hosting the live Q&A session. Yeah.
Thanks, Meng. All your faces, it's really nice to see you. So we've had a couple of questions in the chat. One of them was from Amanda, and she was wondering if you could share the name of the Cambridge group that you just mentioned. Yanyi, was it the Office for Scholarly Communication? You're on mute.
Oh, Yanyi, you're on mute.
So embarrassing. Yeah, let me just fish it out from my email and I put in the chat. So, I mean, this is not CERJ related, so I'm not sure if I should talk about this again, or I mean, I think I can just leave it in the chat, can't I?
Yeah, if we share the details of it, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna fish it out right now.
Thank you so much. And there were a couple of questions from Jensen as well. One about whether it's a blind review process. So I think, Meng, you'd be the best to take that if you want to talk about the anonymous submissions and things.
Yes, we do take a double-blind peer review process. So none of your sort of identifiable information will be included in the manuscript submitted to the reviewers. So you can be assured of this whole process. Yeah.
And the second question, which I'm definitely going to pass to you because I don't know the answer, is how many submissions were made to CERJ last year?
Well, I don't have the exact number off my head. I think 30 to 40 would be the around that number, the volume from last year. Yeah, but I would say that I think CERJ is expanding each year, and we seem to have, this year I was pretty surprised by some early submissions. We even received one submission like before the official call was open. So it's like, so be prepared for perhaps a huge volume of submissions this year. Yeah, which is a good thing for CERJ, by the way.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting question, because I guess it speaks to maybe students' worries about rejection rate and whether, if they're an MPhil student or a master's student perhaps, and they're just starting out on their journey, whether they're going to be competing with people who already have a publication record.
Yeah, I think the thing is, we don't sort of particularly aim for a specific rejection rate. That's just not something that CERJ does. But we do want to make sure that we have a consistent quality of publications in a volume. So that's something that you should probably consider. And my best advice would be just, like what I mentioned earlier, just focusing on establishing the significance of your study and making it explicit and clear in your writing. And in that case, I think the chance of acceptance would be much higher. Yeah.
Fantastic, thanks, Meng. There's a really helpful comment as well in the chat from James, who says, as someone involved in employing people at the University of Northampton, he can confirm that he would take a CERJ article seriously on a CV. That's fantastic to hear, James. Thank you. Also, Amanda is asking, Yan Yi, you mentioned you wrote your case study for CERJ on a different area to your main research interest. Did you have to get separate ethical approval to carry out that case study?
I definitely did discuss this with the supervisor, I remember. And like I mentioned, I mean, I didn't actually sign a form or anything like that, but I did use, the ethical procedures form that we have at Cambridge as a reference. And then I delineated in the paper, what I did to ensure that the ethical procedures were protected. I think it was something like, it was kind of long ago, so I can't really remember 100%, but I think all the CERJ papers out there, like that collect empirical data, they definitely have to mention something about ethical procedures. So I remember that's what I did. Kind of forgot the rest, but I hope that helps. Yeah.
I'm sure it does. Kira, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, I was about to say as well, guidance related to kind of ethics and things like that and what you must include in the paper is included in the policy section on the website. So you can read through like kind of the fine print about that if you needed any more information. So can one test out the idea of the paper before actually putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard on the actual manuscript? So David, I'm not sure, do you want to just elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that? Do you mean just...
Yes, sure. I come from the world of product design, and so we have a system called prototyping, where you test out the idea of a product before you actually launch into the prototype. So I'm wondering if one could talk to somebody and say, look, I'm thinking about doing this in a very loose kind of way before you actually put in the effort, because otherwise you're into your 2, 3, however many thousand words, and then somebody comes back and says, well, that's a really silly idea. Why didn't you ask me first?
Right. Well, no ideas are silly.
You should hear some of mine.
Yeah, but no ideas are silly. And I don't know, Mung, if you've got anything to add to this, but at least what I would say is that we really do encourage we really do encourage submissions from anything that's related to education, right? And there is lists on the website of topic areas and of the types of articles that you could submit. Mung, I don't know, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I like to add something onto that. I think, so when it comes to academic publication, I think writing is itself a thinking process too. So actually, but through the process of writing and preparing a manuscript, you can sort of get, sort out a lot of ideas that you felt differently before you start writing. So I would really recommend you to put together a draft and ask, for example, your friends, your supervisor, etc., to comment on it. And people would generally feel very, more comfortable with commenting an actual piece rather than, some abstract ideas, because things could turn out differently in the form of writing. And also, I think the reviewing process itself is sort of like the prototyping phase, if you will, because you send it out to your peers, and 2 or 3 of your peers would give their feedback on it, which is really valuable, because previously you're sort of just closed in your own sort of world, focusing on your own understanding of the issue, but getting some second opinions and fresh perspectives can really help you improve the quality. So I would find it, regardless of the end result, the reviewing process, the writing process are both sort of beneficial, in and of itself. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, Mung, actually, we've got another question that's kind of related to that.
Okay.
Which says, are you happy with co-written pieces with more than one author? That might partly answer David's question, but it is because it's harder to go off on a really odd path when there is another author writing it with you.
I wonder if maybe Ryan wants to answer this one.
Yes.
I'd say yes, they definitely do. I had a co-writer on my paper as well, and I will very much agree. She was my supervisor, and she'd seen the paper that I submitted for the course, and so she was happy to help me direct it in the direction of the CERJ journal. And so definitely, because it was double the words, and I was thinking I have some good stuff here. Which part should I do? And she really helped with that, and then also of getting to the word count for me is quite difficult to cut the words down on things, because I think it's nice how it is. So I think, yeah, definitely. So David, if you wanted to be the big brains behind it and get someone on that can reel you in and kind of corral you, then that might be, we might find that useful. I know I do.
And of you to give me a big brain.
And has anybody else got any questions?
I can't see any. I can see a hand up on screen. Raquel.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched this already, but I just need to confirm. I am interested in submitting something. So I am a graduate student. I'm a PhD year 1, did my MPhil last year also, but I'm working with a person from an NGO, and this person isn't an academic, isn't a graduate student, and this person would be my co-author. So is this okay? And then a follow-up question would be, what if I am not? Could someone, because I understood that the prerequisite is that you are a graduate of any faculty of education in any country in the world. What if you're not a graduate? What if you're not a student, but you are someone that are working with education on the ground with communities, and you would like to still submit? Is that acceptable, or would I have to be a co-author for you guys to accept? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. And I think it speaks to what we are trying to aim for this year with CERJ, is that we want to publish a variety of voices for people who have got something to say about education. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a prerequisite for a graduate degree in education, but that somebody perhaps who is working in education absolutely has got an insight and has got something interesting to say. So absolutely no, it doesn't matter that this person is not a registered graduate student or has never been a registered graduate student. I think the insights of working in an NGO and working with education are, incredibly valuable. So I'm going to jump in there and say absolutely, we are interested in that voice and in that perspective. Go on.
I just want to quickly add to that. Yeah, so we welcome sort of all forms of knowledge as long as they're valuable and relevant to the field. But do remember that you need to conform with the conventions of the academic journal publication, because we are still a grad school journal. So as long as you can comply with that, then the qualifications can that's just irrelevant. Yeah.
There's another question just come up on the chat. Is CERJ listed on Scopus or Web of Science? Do you want to talk, Meng, about listing?
No, unfortunately not yet. That would be our, vision for the next 10 years or something. No, we're currently just indexed on Doge. I think someone has already listed the full name. Was it James?
Yeah.
Yeah, the directory of open access journals. Yeah.
A final question about deadlines, peak periods to avoid. Meng, do you want to take that one as well? Or Kira?
Go ahead, Meng.
Yeah, we do have the submission call will close on the 30th of March this year. So that's the deadline that you should follow. And in terms of the peak period, so because we already have a deadline, so you don't need to worry about that as long as you meet that deadline, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to scroll through the participant just to make sure there's no hands up and we're not missing anything. But apart from that, I think we're ready to hand over to Nayana, and she's going to talk a little bit about community engagement before we sign off.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. So I'm here to talk about a Facebook group that we set up on which you can meet other potential authors, maybe collaborate with them, or even ask each other questions and ask us also questions that you might have. It's called CERJ Community and it's on Facebook, and I'll drop the link on the chat right after I'm done. So you can just click and join it. And you can also keep your questions coming to us through the group and also through our social media pages. You can also stay tuned to these social media pages on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for all of our updates and announcements. And Ionis, if you can change the slide, then you can see our usernames of our respective pages and all of this. And thank you, Ryan and Yangi, for joining us today, and for all of our audiences too. And I think we're done. And if Meng has any final words to finish our session today, then I'll hand it over to her.
Yeah, just a massive thank you to all of you here, and we really appreciate the interest in CERJ. And if there's any question that you didn't feel like being addressed during the meeting, you're free to send an email to us or reach out to us on social media. We're here to provide support to all of you, and hope this session is helpful to you all. And yeah, I think that's it for today, and we can wrap it up. Yeah, we will put the recording on our YouTube channel so that you can see all the relevant resources. There are other videos that are definitely worth watching too. Yeah. Okay, I think that's about it. And thank you everyone, and have a good day.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Really lovely to
Bye.
see you all.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.